Hello students, welcome to the online video tutorials. Myself Dr. Chaya BM, Associate Professor. In this video, let us look into the concepts of optical networks. Let us try to understand what are optical networks. These are the one which uses optical fiber as a transmission medium. So the optical networks are basically evolved to meet the challenges for an efficient, cost-effective and reliable worldwide communications. Since it uses optical fibers as a transmission medium, they called it as optical fiber networks. So in this particular optical fiber networks, the data is being transmitted from one end to another end. So when I say data, it can be a voice, video or any multimedia signals or any multimedia information. So here in this figure, we can see the optical fiber network evolution. So in the first generation, if you can see from 1980s to 1990s, they started using a synchronous digital hierarchy or synchronous optical networks, point-to-point communication. So here the switching speed and the new network configurations were the contributing factor. So later they upgraded to wavelength routings at the end of 1990s. So in the second generation, they started using infrastructures of optical fibers and the wavelength routing techniques. So these optical networks, what they use in the second generations were static. That is, whatever the allocated resources which was carrying information were not automatically reassigned. So hence the network structures were used were not reconfigurable. So that was overcome in the third generation. In the third generation optical networks, the optical switching techniques were enhanced, and they started using three modes of optical switching techniques, that is the optical packet switching, optical circuit switching and optical burst switching networks. So this was aimed to for achieve a higher transmission rate up to 160 gigabits per second uh, by using these switching techniques. Optical network concepts. In order to provide efficient communication between from source to destination, optical fiber is used as a transmission medium. So this figure shows a simple optic network structure wherein we can see several circular blocks in the structure. It represents an optical node. So optical node is basically a multifunctional element which performs various functions like transmitter, receiver, and also it is used to process the optical signals. This figure, if you carefully see, you have lambda 1 and lambda 2, which is setting up its own dedicated path to reach its destination. So we have two light paths that is shown in the figure for lambda 1 optical signal and lambda 2. The data can be sent through these light paths, or we even call it as logical links, once the connections are set up. Optical networking terminologies. For an effective transmission of information from source to destination or from one end to the another end, we use optical fiber network, and this optical fiber network can be unidirectional or multidirectional. So the aim is to send information from one to another end by using several switches or by using several routing techniques. In order to achieve this, in order to reach the information at the final destination, we may have to understand these terminologies. Some of the terminologies are mentioned here. That is network topology, network architecture, its modes, network switching modes, virtual circuits, network routing, modularity and scalability. The first terminology we are understanding here is network topology. The topology is nothing but the interconnectivity patterns of the network structure. We have four basic topologies: bus, ring, star and mesh. What do you mean by bus topology? A single cable is connected to multiple nodes. Basically, we see this type of structure in local area networks. The cable is taking care of all the other nodes. So hence it is also called as a backbone. If this backbone has some damage, the entire segment fails. So that can be one disadvantage by using this bus topology. The advantage is that the connectivity is very easier to connect peripheral devices. Second is the ring topology. So in this network topology, we can see that each node connects exactly two other nodes, which forms the circular data path. So all the messages or information in the ring topology travel in a circular direction or in the same direction. Here, once it sends some informations or a data packet, it receives a token. Uh, that token passing makes a ring topology better than a bus. Next is a star topology. We can see one central hub is connecting with many nodes. So this we can see in the server client systems. So the central hub can be your active or a passive, and it is fast and very responsible for routing all the traffic to other nodes. This star topology may require an extra hardware which adds to cost. So if this central hub fails, all the devices connected to it will have no network connection. That is all about star. Coming to mesh topology is formed by the combination of star and ring. So here, if you see each network is connected or interconnected by all the nodes in the network. So that we call it as an full mesh. So this provides more interconnectivity compared to other topologies. Network architecture. This basically corresponds to Open System Interconnection Reference Model or OSI model. This network architecture has a set of layers wherein each layer has its own functionalities. There are 7 layers: application layer, presentation layer, session, transport, network, data link, and physical layers. The last 3 layers are also called as data driven layers. Let us try to understand the functionalities of all these layers. Application layer is a layer which provides the end user access uh, to provide services such as error handling, recovery, and data flow over the entire network. It also acts as a main interface to interact between the applications with the network. Coming to the presentation layer, this is nothing but a translator between application and the network. So there are several functionalities such as it handles data compression, decompression, encryption, decryption. Everything should be completed within this particular layer. Session provides a basic mechanisms such as opening, closing, and managing a session between end user application processes. Coming to the transport layer, this is very responsible for the end-to-end connections, and it also ensures reliability of the connections by accepting the data from application layer and prepares itself for addressing to the network layer. Network layer is the third layer in the OSI model. It basically it transmits and also translates the logical addresses into physical addresses. So it also determines the path and performs basic functions to permit different networks to be interconnected. And this also has the functionality of forwarding packets to the networks through routers and determine the possible paths for data to handle or travel from one node to another node. So hence we also call it as in virtual circuits. Data link layer is one which handles protocols for moving of data in and out of the physical link network. So this is also called as protocol layers. The last layer, or also called as the lowest layer, that is a physical layer, is the one which is used to transport data by using electrical, mechanical, or we can even say procedural interfaces. So the basic function is to transmit a media signal and binary informations from one source to another destination. Networking modes. So what are networking modes? These are the one which are used to set up transmission paths. There are two types of modes. First one is connection oriented network and connectionless oriented networks. So in the connection oriented networks, before transmission is taken place, the end-to-end connection is already set up. Once the path is determined, all the information and data are sent to the destination using an established connection. Hence, this type of networks are also called as handshaking. So, connectionless oriented networks are the one in which there will be no dedicated end-to-end connections. So, the transmission of information is achieved in one direction without confirming the presence of the destination to reach the information. In the previous slide, we talked about networking modes. So here we'll be talking about what are network switching modes. Basically, there are two types of network switching modes. First one is circuit switching and packet switching. So what do you mean by circuit switching? An end-to-end circuit is required to set up before establishing a connection in circuit switching mode. That's very important. So we have to ensure that the circuit is pre-established. So then the information is transferred from one end to the another end, and later after the transmission is completed, the circuit is terminated, and the resources becomes available to other resources. So this circuit switched network modes are considered as a selective and temporary. It is utilized in the connection oriented networks. What is packet switching or cell switching networks? This basically implies store and forward strategies. So in this mode of transmission, the messages are sent in terms of blocks, and the connections is not pre-established to send the information, and this transmission of information is sent in terms of messages wherein the packets are broken into number of parts, and later they are sent independently over whatever route is optimal to that particular packet, and then these packets are reassembled at the destination end. This is about cell switching or packet switching. Virtual circuits. A virtual circuit is a connection between source and destination node which may consist of several different routes. There are two types of virtual circuits: switched virtual circuits, provisional virtual circuits. In case of switched, the connections can be set up on demand and can be terminated once the data is being exchanged. Whereas in provisional virtual circuits, the connections are set up in advance based on the expected traffic patterns. Network routing. Routing refers to the process in which a network finds one or more possible paths to reach its destination. The routing process comprises of three stages: neighboring discovery, topology discovery, and path selection. What do you mean by neighbor discovery? So this is the first step in case of routing. It means that it has to discover its immediate neighbors and their connections to the neighboring nodes. The second step is topology discovery. In this process, a node discovers all the other nodes in the networks and also checks how they are connected to each other. The last step would be the path selection, in which it finds out the path from source to destination using various routing algorithms, or even call it as in path computational algorithms. So, or it also sometimes uses routing protocols for the path selection. When we say protocol, it is basically a set of rules or a protocols or procedures for data representations, authentications, and it also takes care of error detections. So next we have to see what is modularity and scalability. Modularity is again a network characteristic that allows addition or reduction of network nodes in a modular fashion. Scalability is the one which enables to accommodate large number of nodes without incurring any losses or overheads. Basically, for a network with a high number of nodes, scalability becomes difficult to realize as a large number of alternate routes are available. The next topic is optical network nodes and switching elements. What do you mean by an optical node? It is basically a multifunctional element that performs several tasks like transmitting, receiving, and processing of informations in a network. So this node also does other jobs such as sending, resending of information or redirecting of optical signals to its neighboring connected nodes. Optical node, it can also perform as a router directly as an input signal wavelength to a specified output port. So in this figure, we can see several optical networking node elements. In the first figure, we can see 1x2 wavelength demux, so which illustrates the splitting of signals from input port to two different output ports, that is port 2 and port 3. So lambda 1, lambda 2 are sent at port 1 and which is being split at two different ports, that is lambda 1 is ported to port 2 and lambda 2 is ported to port 3. In the figure B, 3-port wavelength mux is shown wherein it combines into two wavelength signals. So it is combining the signals which is entering from port 1 and port 2. In the third figure, we can see an optical add or drop multiplexer which is comprising of wavelength add or drop devices. So wherein incoming signals are multiplexed has three wavelengths, lambda 1, lambda 2, lambda 3 is partially demultiplexed by dropping lambda 1 at some stage, and at the receiving end of the mux it is again adding lambda 4 at an intermediate port 3. So finally, the combined output signal living at port 4 contains the wavelengths lambda 1, lambda 2 and lambda 3. If the devices are configured to drop or add fixed wavelengths, so they will be called as an fixed OADM. The figure D or fourth figure shows a simple 2x2 optical switch with two input ports and two output ports. So these optically multiplexed signals that is lambda 1, lambda 2, lambda 3 and lambda 4 are present at input ports 1 and 2 respectively, and if in the output ports it is switched and multiplexed as lambda 1, lambda 3 at port 3 and lambda 2 and lambda 4 at port 4 respectively. So in the last figure we can see reconfigurable optical add or drop multiplexer. This device can drop one or desired number of signals. So as in 3, we can drop only one signal at a time, whereas in the reconfigurable OADM we can drop n number of channels, and we can add n number of channels, or you can even add only one channel at a time. Okay, this configuration of mux brings together all wavelength channels to produce the combined wavelength multiplexed output signal. Optical cross connects. These are the devices which are used for switching of optical signals in a fiber optic network. Maybe it is used in optical mesh networks. So by using this optical cross connects, the optical signals can be regenerated, and we can ensure the optical networks which are free from distortions and attenuations. This OXC can either receive or transmit or switch optical signals from other networks such as SONET, IP and ATM. ATM is asynchronous transfer modes. And these OXCs are most commonly used in fiber optic networks for connection and bandwidth management, and it can also reconfigure network dynamically at wavelength level. And in the figure 2 we can see that how the fiber cross connections are made. So suppose the first signal is entering at some wavelength, and it has to be ported to lambda 2. So the optical cross connect switch will ensure that it is switched to appropriate destination. The third figure will show the logical cross connections, and we can see that it is a mesh topology. It is mainly reconfigured using mesh topology, and when the network topology is a mesh, an additional fiber interconnection device is needed to route signals from input port to desired output ports. So such devices we call it as an optical cross connects. So basically there are so many types of optical cross connects, like electronic optical cross connects, optical cross connects, and wavelength selective devices, and so on. So this figure also clearly depicts how optical cross connections can be used. There are several input ports which are being switched through OXs, which are routed to several output ports. So in this figure we can see that input port 1 is being routed or switched to output port 2, and similarly input port 3 is being switched to output port 1. Wavelength division multiplex networks, commonly called as WDM. So we can see there are three sections: transmitter side, mainline transmission, and receiver side. The transmission medium used here is a fiber optic channel, and the demultiplexing and multiplexing involves light signals. These are basically used to utilize the high data rate capability of the fiber optic cable. So in this figure, a number of light sources are used with different wavelengths, and at the multiplexer side, all the signals are transmitted by a single fiber, and we can see that at the receiver side, multiplexer separates different wavelengths, and it is given to the different receivers. Therefore, in WDM, we are increasing the capability of the fiber by using fiber with different wavelengths. Hence, we can ensure that the data rate is increased by having wavelength division. There are some important features of WDM. That is, the wavelength can be reused effectively by using effective routing algorithms, and the wavelength conversions are possible which ensures the secured connections. Transparency is very high, and circuit switching mode is supported, which provides proper routing between transmitter and receiver. There are two types of WDM architectures. First one is broadcast and select WDM networks, and wavelength routing WDM networks. We'll see one by one. Let's understand what is a broadcast and select WDM networks. Different node transmits messages on different wavelengths simultaneously. The star coupler combines all these messages and then broadcasted the combined messages to all the other nodes. A node selects a desired wavelength to receive the desired message by tuning its receivers to that wavelength. Hence, the tunable receivers are used. So, in this WDM networks, the star topologies are most popularly used. The disadvantage of the system can be that they cannot span long distances, since the transmitted power is split among various nodes. That means most of the transmitted power is depleted on the receiver side itself, which do not use it. So in order to avoid this wastage of transmitted power, the wavelength routing networks can be used. Wavelength routing WDM networks. The figure shown in the slide explains you how the wavelength routing is done. In the first figure, a physical connection is made for 5 nodes, that is A, B, C, D, E. All are bidirectional. And in the figure B, we can see how the wavelength assignments can be done. So in this figure, we carefully observe that A is receiving message from B through node E. The node E is called as an intermediate node here, and A is sending information, that is lambda 1, to B. Similarly, B is receiving information or data signal from C, and C is transmitting lambda 2 to D, and E is transmitting its information to D. The same setup can also be written using virtual topology. So in the previous figure, we understood that A is receiving two types of information. It is sending as well as it is receiving. So that can be depicted using this particular topology. So here we can see that there is a direct communication between A and B. In the figure 2, we can see that there is a direct communication between A and B, and whereas if A has to receive information from B, it is taking help of E. That means B is taking passing information to A through the intermediate node E. The direct communication, what we understood in the previous slide, is nothing but a single hop network. It is the one in which the source and destination points are having only one stations in the network, and it is also called as direct communication. So data remains until it reaches its destination, it always remains in the optical domain. In the second example, what we saw that in the previous example is B is sending information to A through E. So that we call it as a multiple hopping. So here transmission may take place through an intermediate node before reaching its destination. Public telecommunication network overview. So the telecommunication network providing services in public domain are called as public telecommunication networks. So this gives following services like voice, data and video transmissions. So basically there are three tiers. The first one is long haul or core networks, metropolitan and access networks. So we will understand one by one. In the long haul or core networks, these are also called as backbone networks. The global coverage is about 100 to thousands of kilometers, and these connect many metropolitan networks. So in the interconnections between the optical nodes can be done using optical switches, which are employing optical cross connects. Metropolitan networks are also called as metro, sometimes the backhaul networks also. The services provided here for about tens of kilometers, and this implements ring topology, and the interconnectivity is achieved by using OADMs. OADMs we have already discussed in the previous topics, that is optical add drop multiplexers. What are access networks? The lowest tier in the hierarchy is LAN, which extended for a few hundreds of kilometers up to 20 kilometers. These networks can provide services to residents, building, business and customers, and these are configured by using various topologies like bus, star, ring topologies. And here the users are connected to remote node, which interconnects the users with a telephone exchange or a local office.